Hi everyone, this is Julianne Grant. Welcome to our Tech Tuesday, What's New from Aras update with Rodney, Coffee, and Milan Obredovic. We're here today to give you the latest update on Aras Innovator, and I'm going to hand it over to Rodney.
Very good, thanks Julianne. So sorry everyone, we're having a few difficulties. Our organizer, their network went down, so thank you for holding on, and I apologize we're getting started here a few minutes late. So we do have a sizable amount of content to show today. I know the last Tech Tuesdays. Without further ado, I am going to hand it directly over to Milan so we can get started.
Ready? Today we're going to start with some of the major updates that are featured within Heiress 17. We're also going to do a bit of demonstration focusing on some of the new features as well as the tech docs framework. Along with this, we're going to go through some of the release notes and just hit on some notable topics that Aras touched on, as well as we'll have our Q&A session and finish it up with a wrap up of our webinar here. So to begin, we'll go to our enhancements. So these are the three main enhancements that are noted in the release notes. Starting with the one that'll probably impact everyone the most, which is modifications to the claim and edit functionality within Heiress. So they currently now made claim and edit independent functions of one another, and we'll go into what that means exactly on some later slides, as we will with all the rest of these. So the next goes into tech pubs, the tech docs framework. Just some more ease of use features added in. So document elements can now be moved or copied to another location with a document by clicking and dragging within the editor. And then finally, Heiress is continuing on their crusade of adding properties for federated functionality. So now the attribute can be used on float, date, and string properties. So getting into some of these key functionalities that are added, such as the claim and edit functionality. So edit and claim are now completely independent of one another. So editing an item will lock the item for the duration of the edit, but will not exactly place a claim over the item. This won't necessarily impact the user directly, but it will, however, change the way things are displayed to the user. So previously, if you were to click done or discard on a claimed item, it would automatically unclaim it. You'd see the green flag disappear. But now, if you manually select the green claim flag, selecting done or discard on a claimed item will not affect that claim status. The lock status is set independently of when edit or claim are both active, and it will only be unlocked when it is neither claimed or in edit mode. So this will allow for users to keep an item claim between edit cycles or sessions. If your item is automatically versionable, whenever the claim or edit is completed, that would automatically version the item. So maintaining that claim will limit the creation of new versions, and in Heiress's intent, it'll prevent the creation of excess versions and also preserve the meaning of versions in a more importance. So if we move on, we can also touch on some of the little bit of tech docs framework. So just a little background, the technical documentation app is a content authoring tool fully integrated within Aras Innovator. And by fully integrated, I mean it uses same security structure, workflows, and life cycles. It's configurable in the same fashion as any other item. The tech doc framework will also allow your users to relate your PLM data directly to your documents and actively maintain these relationships. So if you wanted to reference for example, an assembly that you had within your database, you can include that part BOM on your technical document and say that assembly went through a change. You could actively update those relationships within your technical document without having to rebuild the whole document. There's some new updates to the framework to allow for some greater ease of use. Heiress is also planning on adding more comfort features, but the main one here is the ability to drag and drop. Instead of having to go through your design tree and modify the order of things, you can actually move things around within the editor, make it more like a full-fledged content authoring tool within Aras Innovator. And then finally, another thing to touch on is the extension of Federation. So if you were with us for our last Tech Tuesday, we covered a bit of what Aras is pushing for Federation. So just a little bit of review. Federation connects data stored within remote systems, and then we'll extend their definition with PLM functionality. So Aras has kept going for the past, since release 14, they've essentially added more data types that can become federated. And so they've continually pushed to provide more functionality, and they're getting to a point where they are now moving towards other functionality, not exactly, not exactly just data types now. They're looking to build on this functionality. So all these data types being added to be federated are essentially building the backbone of future advancements currently being analyzed by Heiress. You can see in the screenshot here, I've added some of the things that they're planning. It's not essentially on the immediate roadmap, but they're things they're looking into how to make use of all of this functionality that they've added over the past couple months. So with this, I kind of want to go into our Innovator 17 database and poke around at some of these new features and also give you guys a pretty solid understanding of what TechDocs is and what it's capable of doing, as well as kind of give you some background since there is a lot more coming within TechDocs. So first thing I do want to focus on, however, is the claim and edit functionality. So if I were to open a part within our Innovator database, same part, say in Innovator 12. So previously in Innovator 12, if I were to, this is already claimed, but if I were to select edit, the claim flag will automatically be highlighted. And if I were to search up this part within, say, as another user, I'll be able to see that this is claimed and activated by another user. Loading speed's a little slow today. So I can see that I'm locked out of this item. If I were to do a search for my parts, I would see that this is locked out as well. And if I go back to 12, as soon as I say select discard, that flag is immediately removed. While if I were to do this within 17, notice that the flag isn't immediately brought up. But if I were to view this as another user, I would see a similar result. It would be flagged as locked and being edited by another user. The main difference in functionality is if I were to say claim this, go in, edit, make a change, and select done. The claim isn't immediately relinquished. So if I were to say plan on working on this later today or within a few days, I can maintain this claim and I won't automatically generate a new version of this part until I completely unclaim the part. So when say looking at our diagram provided by Heiress, it might look immediately confusing, especially saying claim and edit independent, but for the most part, it doesn't affect the user directly. It's just changing how this information is immediately displayed to you. With a little bit of clarification on that, let's hop into the TechDocs framework. Let's unclaim this. Okay, so to begin our run through of TechDocs, I kind of want to go through a bit of the user interface and a mostly completed document. So technical documents are going to have two views available from the sidebar, one being the form that we're looking at right now, and the other being the editor. The form allows the user to set the document number, the name, the type of document, and the formatting schema. The schema will dictate which types of content blocks are available within the editor. They also dictate which CSS sheets are used to style the document and format it. So these are all XML based, so these item references are built through XML. Upon selecting our editor, we have three main components that we can look at. On the top is our toolbar, which contains functions for content editing. The toolbar is dynamic and will change based on the selected element. So the toolbar will contain functions for find and replace within our document. You can also modify the document view, which includes filtering based on certain conditions that can be set. So you can region lock certain content blocks. You can also filter by or sort by language if we have multiple languages. And we can also set actually a side-by-side view. Say if we can view the document within our English, Spanish, and then we can also view between multiple revisions. But for now, we just want to look at our single since we only have one revision in one language. So we can close that out. On the left, we have our navigation pane and our structure tree. This displays each individual element that is included within our technical document. So if I were to open up one of these blocks and say highlight an element, that'll highlight its contents within the editor, which goes on to our third main section of the TechDocs editor, is the editor window, which displays the content of the document and is the main workspace for creating it. It's kind of like your canvas per se, or just your Word doc window. So looking deeper into our tree, we can also see that our document also has other technical documents embedded underneath. So say if we were to open up this MakerBot body overview document, you would see that it's essentially just another tech doc. And using the, if we were to make a change to this document, say this description. So just for example, we can say modification. If we were to make a change to this document, save and refresh our top level one, we'll see that those changes will be reflected in the parent. So new to Innovator 17, as I said, is the ability to drag and drop content around within our tech docs. So when I hold Shift and select, we can click and drag around and we'll be able to actually see places where we're eligible to place this. So highlighted in red, we're not able to place our graphic there. If we were to place it underneath, we'll see it automatically resizes as well based on the formatting. But we can return this to where it was. So we can also scroll through the rest of our document here. We can see that there is a part that has been embedded within each section of this document, and the parts bill of materials is being shown as some components, as a subcomponents list within the document. Technical documents allow for users to link their PLM data directly to documents. And within tables, you're actually able to link properties to each entry. So if we kept scrolling down, we can see that our subcomponent list for our extruder is currently outlined in red. And this is because within this database, we have just closed an ECO for the extruder, and that results in a new version, or in a new revision to our extruder part. The components list item in the tree is, if we're going to go to our design tree and look for our extruder section. Yeah, so if we were to say go to our extruder section, we can also see that the components list is highlighted in red. And if we were to right click and open up our context menu here, we have the ability to go to version and update the latest. That'll automatically bring the latest revision of the parts. Say if any of this metadata were to have changed when the ECO was closed, that would be automatically populated here. So this functionality will allow for your technical documents to remain up to date, even if anything has changed, and that will remove the need to rebuild relationships or create new documents. If I were to say want to add another assembly to our tech doc, maybe right below our wiring assembly here. What I could do is select add, and in this case, components list, and select add item. And using the components list content block, we can choose to add documents, CAD documents, or parts. In this case, we want to say add this MakerBot replicator assembly. So obviously there's some more formatting that I might need to do to clean this up, but as you can see, as soon as I add that assembly, this components list is immediately populated. I can view, or I can modify each of these entries to update the metadata if anything came in incorrectly. So yeah, let's remove this since it doesn't necessarily belong here and save our document. So we can also go through and demonstrate a bit more of how to create a document. Just a quick run through of kind of how to set up a document here. So as we said before, we'll require a document number, a name, as well as a schema. In this case, we'll just use our standard document schema and select save. Once we select save, we'll be able to open up our editor window. So since we selected standard as our schema, when we right click here and select insert, we have a different selection of entries versus say this technical document, which schema is MakerBot. And once again, those are dictated by an XML file. So in this case, to begin our document, what we'll want to do is select a content block, a document element type per se, of standard. Underneath here, if we select insert, the only option we'll have is title. And that's just because this content menu will only include changes or additions that are allowed at each location. So since selecting insert will insert a child to an element, if I were to select, say, add, it will add a peer to that element. So within this chapter is not currently appearing underneath our standard doc content block. It is actually its own individual thing. So in order to have the standard document styling, you'll have to insert, say, this title underneath. So once we have our title, we can go to add something on the same level. A good, I guess, rule of thumb would be to start building our table of contents here. Table of contents are built automatically by content generators. So within our talk section here, we'll want to add a title. So for example, we can say, this is our table of contents. And as we add chapters and sections to our document, the table of contents will automatically pull in those chapters and section headers to document this. So at this point, we have our title, table of contents, so we can start building our document. So we can add a chapter to our document. So say for this chapter, I want to demonstrate how to build a table real quick. So I can chapter, I can add a table underneath our chapter. So as we're adding tables, the default setting right away is 2 rows, 2 columns, and that can be adjusted within our dialog window through these drop-down lists. Say we want 2 columns and 5 rows, we can select that, insert it to the table. If we need more rows or columns, we can right-click, select table, add rows and columns as needed. We can also create list items as well. So if I wanted to create a list, it functions very similarly. Select list, and here we go. So as you can see, probably should have touched on this actually as I was going through. Our top toolbar is automatically changing based on which elements we have selected. So if we are selecting text, we have the ability to modify if it's bolded, italicized. And if we're, say, selecting a list, we have the ability to select between bulleted list, numerical, or a alphabetical. So say if we wanted to create a list of, say we wanted like a multi-tiered list with sub bullets. So we have our first entry here. If we wanted to add a list underneath, we can insert another list item, and we can also set another so we can add a list underneath this top level list, and also change the numbering schema individually for that sub tier of that list as well. And then a couple more things to touch on here. Within our existing text, we can add links as well. So say we have text here. We can actually highlight this text, go to the add link button, and this will open up the link editor dialog. So we can link external documents. We can also link URLs. In this case, maybe I want to link .com. We can type that URL within there, select check, and we can verify that our link works. Once we're done, we can select apply. Here maybe we want to add a link to an external document. For example, we'll just say doc. We can go through the same process here, except instead of selecting URL, we'll select external document. Maybe we want access to this packing list. All right, that one doesn't want to pull up. Okay, well, external documents are being a little funky today. All right, well, for the time being, I'll have to figure out why that isn't working at the moment. But see, as we added, say, a chapter, we can add a table of contents to our talk section. We can refresh the content here. Didn't have the chapter. All right, well, this so far this demonstration hopefully has given you all a pretty good understanding of the key features of Heiress technical documentation. We're going to look to build on this as Heiress adds more functionality in the future. As I said, they're looking to add a few more comfort features as we go through these next couple releases. So just to have this back-end knowledge as we move into the future, I think this will be pretty useful as we go through our Tech Tuesdays. So at this point, we can hop back to our slide deck and go into some of the release notes. So I have a screenshot here provided of the release notes, the main issues that have been fixed within Heiress Innovator 17. So these are just some smaller notes. So one, there's some continued enhancements to the table of contents editor. As with all new functionality, there's a few bugs occurring. When you added item types to the table of contents editor and then saving them within the table of contents tree, the item types would essentially remain unlocked. So that issue has now been fixed, as well as you're now able to add buttons to immediately access a package definition from within the table of contents editor. Along with this, some efficiency upgrades to the Configurator Services API. Just a little background for that. The Configurator Services allows for the development of custom product variant management functionality. So the main upgrade here is to validate, increasing the efficiency where they can validate combinations of variants. So if you had a large scope of properties you're selecting between, that process of validating that is a lot more efficient now, thanks to the new upgrade of 17. So with that, we can move on to a bit of Q&A. If anyone has any questions.
Yeah, we got a couple questions here. I'll moderate for us today.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. We got a question. So with tech docs, there's a lot of customization options, especially regarding like the style sheets and the things that we started to talk about today.
Yeah.
You know, the question is basically stating that there's not a lot of sample data available. So when we think about the style sheets, I think what we're looking for is, something that they can easily modify. Do you know if there's other sample data available, or maybe we check in with Heiress to see if they have some additional content? Do you know of anything, or should we take that back to Heiress?
I would say that is something like you're talking about, like pre-made style sheets that we could import into tech docs.
Yeah, or sample data that a customer can modify.
Yeah, that might be something that we might need to take back to Heiress. Yeah, definitely mark that question down.
All right. And then you mentioned some of the creature comfort or comfort features in the way of tech docs. You have insight into what a few of those might be?
Yeah, so this is one of those where we could hop back to our Heiress product roadmap. For those of you who attended a past couple, I think we highlighted where this could be found on the Heiress website. So as I mentioned, this past release, they focused on, say, drag and drop. In the future, they're focusing more on dynamic image resizing, spell check, also adding more, as you can see on their future analyzing, there is a lot of things coming in the future, but I would say editing tables getting a little more easier. The goal for Heiress here is to really reinforce tech docs as more than just making it a little more valuable to the user. So obviously having to go through and learn a new content generator when a lot of you have maybe been using Microsoft Office for quite a long time seems like a hassle. And what Heiress is trying to do is making tech docs framework a lot more simple to use, simple to learn, and just adding more business value by providing that ease of use.
Very good. And just give a couple more minutes for any other additional questions to come in. We get a question. So what's the main value of using tech docs versus just the Heiress Office connector? So there's definitely some differences there, but Milan, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I would say so obviously the Heiress Office connector, you can connect directly to Microsoft Word, import documents through there. So the big value of using the tech docs framework versus that would be that functionality showing relating that PLM data immediately to your document. And since that is all housed within Heiress Innovator, anything going through a change process, you can link technical documents to a change process as well. You'll be able to maintain those item relationships way easier than having to, say, go back and manually modify things whenever, say, an assembly changes, revisions change. You're able to keep your graphics up to date. Since everything is housed within Innovator and within your PLM environment, it maintains that same security structure as well. There's certain permissions you can assign to people for viewing or modifying technical documentation as well. The main benefit is keeping everything all within one system and not having to bounce between others or having to use a integration such as the Office connector.
Very good.
Any more questions, Rodney?
So I know we have Angela, who I've been going back and forth with. So I'm going to take Angela. I'm going to take a couple of your requests back, and I will follow up after the meeting. I've got a hold of a couple other technical people, and they went out to try to reproduce some of these things. So look for an email from me here shortly. With that, Milan, if you could go to the next slides. I think that wraps up the Q&A we have in the pool. So we do have, we do have a couple other things upcoming. So we're going to continue our Tech Tuesday series on April 19th. We'll have a little bit more about the Tech Docs framework. As Milan said, I think that's going to be a popular trend over the next couple of releases. And then looking outward, we have May 24th and then June 28th. So just trying to stay ahead of these and give you guys the next 3 so you can block those out in your calendars. And then, we've been talking about other webinars that Razorleaf has been hosted. So here in Q1, we have our Validate Your PLM Configuration with Test Automation. So that's going to be a great webinar if you're those out there that need to do forward-thinking performance testing, or if we're testing and validating the solutions we have. Razorleaf has a strategic partnership with a company called 𝙈𝙊𝙍𝙍𝙬, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what we're doing with those folks around Heiress and how we are using that as a test automation framework. So validating all of our test cases. And then in Q2, starting out May 10th, we will have our Clover Collected webinar. Pretty excited about this. We have a lot of early adopters behind us from 2021 who are out there using Clover Collected at this point. And we're really excited to get that out there and show it to some other folks. So I think the Clover brand, after that Collected webinar, will start to become part of our Tech Tuesdays as well, because at that point, we will have introduced the key products as part of that product family. And then we did have a really good user group. So I know we have some subscribers on the line. Thank you guys for all of your feedback and participation in that. Our next user group will be June 9th. So if you're a subscriber, we would definitely love to see you out there. And again, trying to target in-person event, hopefully later this year. So with that, I think we're a wrap. I again want to apologize for the late start today. The world's technology problems, right? We had a network go down and caused us some trouble getting started, but hopefully everyone saw some value in today, and we will see you again on April 19th. Thank you.